Hello, sweetheart. I'm going to read you a beautiful story so you can feel warm and cozy under your blankets. If you want, you can set your phone or tablet aside and let your imagination spark to life. The Tiny Lighthouse at Puddle Pier. On a small farm, after every big rain, a perfect round puddle would form beside the barn. The puddle was big enough to reflect the whole sky, but small enough to walk around in just a few minutes. The children on the farm had once built a tiny wooden pier beside it, using sticks and stones. At the end of that pier, they placed a tiny handmade lighthouse. It wasn't tall, it wasn't bright, but it was precious. Everyone called it the Tiny Lighthouse of Puddle Pier. One warm afternoon, after a morning rainstorm, a duckling named Mip waddled toward the puddle. Her feathers were fluffy and pale yellow, and her little feet made soft pat-pat sounds on the wet ground. When she reached Puddle Pier, she gasped softly. "Oh, the water is so still today." The puddle's surface reflected the sky like a perfect mirror. Clouds floated across it upside down, and the tiny lighthouse cast a tiny reflection that shimmered gently. Mip stepped onto the wooden pier. The wood felt warm from the sun. She reached the end and sat down beside the little lighthouse. It was just her size. She leaned against it and whispered, "You're the perfect lighthouse for a tiny duck like me." A soft breeze rippled the puddle only slightly. A few ripples brushed her reflection, making it wiggle like a sleepy wave. Mip stretched her wings and settled into a relaxed position. Soon she heard gentle footsteps. A frog named Pebble hopped onto the pier. "Oh, hello, Mip," Pebble croaked quietly. "Is the lighthouse glowing today?" Mip smiled. "It's not really glowing, but the puddle makes it look like it is." Pebble hopped beside her and gazed at the water. "It feels very calm." A snail named Shimmer slowly crawled along the edge of the pier to join them, leaving a gleaming trail behind. "May I rest with you?" Shimmer asked softly. Mip nodded. The more, the cozier. They all looked out at the puddle. Clouds drifted slowly in the sky above and drifted just as slowly in the water below. The tiny lighthouse stood still, its reflection steady, as if watching over them. Mip whispered, "I like how the puddle feels like a tiny ocean." Pebble nodded. "And how the lighthouse keeps watch, even though it's small." Shimmer curled beside Mip. "I feel safe here," he murmured. The warm wind stirred the puddle again. Ripple, ripple, ripple. Mip let her eyes droop. The pier creaked softly in the breeze. A dragonfly hovered before landing on the lighthouse roof. Sunlight warmed the duckling's feathers. Everything was slow, everything was gentle, everything encouraged sleep. Pebble yawned a tiny frog yawn. Shimmer's eyes closed halfway. Mip rested her head on the pier, feeling the wood hold her like a pillow. The lighthouse watched over them, tall and silent, reflected twice, once in the sky, once in the puddle. With the water as still as glass, and the tiny beacon beside them, the three friends drifted quietly into a soothing nap on the tiny pier by their tiny lighthouse beside their tiny puddle ocean. Good night, sweetheart.